depending on when you are watching this. Trust you've had an awesome time watching our past webinars or lecture series on soilless farming. Like I said, the whole idea of these was so that everybody understands the basics of soilless based farming. We've tried explaining what hydroponics is, what aquaponics is, what aeroponics is, and differentiating what or trying to explore the things or the things to consider in determining which of these systems to use. As we come to the last part of this lecture, I said I was going to use these to answer um, questions, and I've had lots and lots of questions. So, what I've been trying to do is compile them such that I do not have to answer the same question twice or thrice, such that from a single question I'm able to answer maybe 4, 5, 7 questions, depending as the case may be. And one of the few questions, one of the most resonating questions I think I've heard severally is soilless farming. Why are we pushing it? What is the deal? How do you get people to appreciate or accept soilless farming? And I would like to explain this way. Number one, like I have said severally, soilless farming is not a means to replace soil-based farming. Rather, it is a way to complement soil-based farming. Number one, I hope that makes sense. Number two, why are we all about soilless farming? I think in one of the classes we talked about the fact that when you realize that there is the obvious climate change where you're having desertification from the north, coastal encroachment from the south, the gas flares, the constant conflict in the middle belt. When you put all of this together, you realize we have lesser and lesser land available for farming. Then when you add to this mix the fact that most of our soil is no longer fertile for growing, then that brings a whole new dimension to the soilless farming thing or to the whole farming terrain. And when you realize this, you realize there is a need to have an alternative means of farming so that the burden on the land is reduced. Then we also realize the fact of the movement from rural urban migration, where you have more people moving to the urban region. So we need to find a way to produce some food in the urban region for those in the cities. And most of the foods that you can produce easily in the cities are things that you can grow easily soillessly using vertical systems and all of that. Another reason for the whole soilless farm is if your desire is to supply to top store, then you realize there is a need to ensure you are supplying pure product. By pure product, how do I mean? If, for instance, I say I want to sell beef stick tomatoes, now as a top store, the kind of clients I would get, majority of my clients are people that want the qualities of beef stick, not 88% beef stick, no, 100% beef stick tomatoes. So what that means essentially is for me to be able to say as a farmer I am producing clean stock of beef stick, it means I am growing my beef stick in a controlled environment where pollination is not an open pollination. By open pollination meaning it's not like the wind just takes care of everything. Because if I have beef stick in my farm and my neighbor has Roma in his farm, there can be cross pollination that will reduce the purity of my produce. I hope that makes sense. But if what I am having is in a controlled environment, it means I am getting exactly what I want to produce. Two or three, another reason for soilless farming is you don't have to deal with pests and pathogens that are inherent in the soil because you have eliminated the soil medium. Four, you are able to give the plant exactly what it requires. So these are some of the few reasons why we are pushing soilless farming, and obviously the fact that you can plant any time of the year, harvest any time of the year. So I think that was one of the most resonating questions that I got. I'll be looking in and out, so in case I miss anyone out. Another question that was paramount is what is the strength and weakness? What are the strength and weakness? So the strength I have already explained. If you look at the advantages, that is the strength. What's the weakness of hydroponics? One, you need to understand the skill, and it's not as easy as saying, okay, go on the internet, pick a few videos and go and start a commercial farm. No, you need to be meticulous. You need to have a good habit of record taking, because you need to understand what works, what is the environment that what works. So it's not like your regular based farmers that you just throw the seed in the soil and you are done. No, we we are very particular about records. Yes, somebody will say, but we are not a research institute. Yes, you are a farmer, but you need records to know what works best. Because when you start, remember, for example, if you probably say, for those of you that want to do commercial farming, you are going to be buying your seeds from maybe the US, the UK, or something in large form. And when you buy your seeds, most of the time, this seed has not been tested where you want to grow. So when you start, you realize you start trying to maximize as much as you can. But your record is what is going to guide you. So first, you need to understand the skill. Then you need to be meticulous about taking records. Depending on the kind of system, you need to know whether are you picking a system that requires constant power supply or not, because all of these at the end would affect your output. By output, which means your financial output, how much money are you making at the end of the day. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, those are basically the strength and the weakness. um, then some people, I know most people were concerned about what do you need now. What do you need to start? It depends on what you want to start. Let me make that clear. If, for example, I want to grow tomatoes, I need to decide what type of system do I want to use to grow tomatoes. Do I want to use substrate or no substrate? It is dependent on you. Remember, if you are using substrate, it will cost you less on electricity because the substrate can hold nutrients for a bit. I hope that makes sense. So if I pump now and I'm using, for example, cocoa pits, or I'm using, for example, pit moss, these guys can hold nutrients for a bit. So the advantage of that is I don't need to pump every time. So I can pump in the morning, maybe in the afternoon, then maybe in the evening. And the pumping can be 5-10 minutes. But if I decide I want to use PVC pipes to grow it, then it means my pumping has to be much more regular. So you need to decide, one, what do you want to grow? Two, what I want to grow. Even if you are growing tomatoes, how much water does my tomatoes need? I need to understand. That is why it's not easy for me to tell you, if you pick this, use this exactly, because it varies. So if you are picking tomatoes, you need to know how much water does my tomatoes need, because these are the factors we look at in deciding what to use. When I say how much water does my tomatoes need, you have different types of tomatoes with their different water requirements. So if you are growing X tomatoes that it says, oh, the soil should be a bit soggy or the substrate should be a bit soggy, then using continuous flow like NFT might work. But if you are growing and it says it should be a bit dry, before maybe I'll try and post a video. I'll show you tomatoes on an NFT and tomatoes in a deep water culture, and you see how they are both performing, planted the same day. So you need to understand what your plant needs. It's not as easy as just saying, oh, I would adopt this hook, line, and sinker. You need to understand the particular variety. For some people that have called and are like, oh, I want to grow tomatoes, you realize one of the first questions I ask you is, what variety of tomatoes do you want to grow? It's not as easy as saying, I want to grow tomatoes. You need to know the variety so that you are giving it the best condition that it needs. Hope that answers the question. Then, the price, somebody asks, what is the installation price? When people ask what is the installation price, the first thing that comes to my mind, are you asking how much will it cost me to install it if I want to build it for you? Or are you asking how much will it cost you to install it yourself? Because if the question is how much will it cost you to install a soilless farm, The answer is basically how much are you paying for workmanship? I am assuming you are not a plumber at the same time an electrician, at the same time a carpenter, a bricklayer, and all of that in one. Hope that makes sense. So when you're talking about the price or the cost for setup, first you buy your materials, and you have to be really good to be able to pick out all the materials you need yourself. If not, you may need the artisans that are specialists in such areas to help you get the materials you need. Then, depending on where you are, the capacity, your relationship, and your ability to negotiate will determine how much you pay for workmanship. For example, if I am to install, what I do is the total cost of what it will cost to build your farm, I take 30%. So when I say 30%, if we do the whole calculation of the materials you need, it's 100 naira. 30% of 100 naira is 30 naira. Out of my 30 naira, that is where I will pay for workmanship and all of that. I hope that makes sense. Now, somebody is probably wondering, does the 30% that you collect always cover price of workmanship? It now depends on where I am going to build. If, for example, we are building, like we finished a farm somewhere in Kaduna recently, and the 30% was not so adequate. Yes, there was little change for us. It wasn't so adequate because we had to transport our people from Lagos to Kaduna, lodge them in a hotel for those periods, feed them and all. And when I say our people, I mean the artisans that we use. So at the end of the day, the artisans' money is not what took the bulk of what we were supposed to make, but rather their accommodation, their feeding. I think they took about 3 weeks and all of that. So essentially, these are some of the things you would look at. I hope that answers that question. So, okay, somebody said they will probably need a specific figure as much as possible. If you are doing 8 meter by 24, 8 meter by 24 meter, the screen house for 8 meter by 24 meter costs between 1.5 million to 2 million naira, depending on who is building it for you. I'm saying 8 meter by 24 built with galvanized rod, anti-air feed net, UV nylon at the top, between 1.5 to 2 million naira, you would have your screen house. Now, for the hydroponic setup inside, it depends on how sophisticated you want to go. You can get it for as cheap as the tomato setup and everything inside. With less than 2 million naira, you are done. Then, you can also go very sophisticated and spend as much as 7-8 million naira. It depends on you. At the end, you are getting the same yield. It's the management that will change. When I say management, it means, for example, if you are probably doing a system that is costing 8 million naira, you are going to have more of the system automated, as opposed to the one that, somebody has to come and ensure the timer is working and all of that. I hope that makes sense. Now, that question I think we got is, they say the price of hydroponic farm equipment that I can get, that people can get through me, and where to get others from, including shipping fee. Okay, now you can get almost every hydroponic equipment you need from me. Shipping fee, I don't know where you are. For those, I don't know if the person that, some questions came from the US, UK. If you are in Nigeria, even whether anywhere you are in the world, I use this GIG logistics. For those of you that bought a few things, I'm pretty sure you notice I use GIG logistics for my shipping. So how much will shipping cost? Shipping depends on the kilogram, that's the weight of what you are shipping, plus the distance. That's shipping generally. Then there are materials I would definitely tell you I would not send to you. Take for instance, you are building a farm and you need PVC pipe and you're asking me to send you PVC pipes. No, buy it from where you are. Come on. It's the materials I would rather you are buying through me are materials that I know, either they are not readily available or there is an issue of standardization, e.g. nutrient, and I was okay. And that was why, if you remember, I think in video 1 or 2, I'm not sure, and even if you look at the curriculum, I sent across links of people you can meet for nutrients. I remember there is Helene. I said she's in Abuja. There is Ogochukwu I Farm. She's in Port Harcourt. So there are people that you can meet. You can meet Big Farm. You can meet Fresh Direct in Abuja. You can meet Gatna Kalaway in Lagos. You can meet PS Nutracoso in Lagos. So there are lots of places you can buy your things. That's option one. Option two, you can also go online and buy your stuffs. I hope that makes sense. So it's not like if you don't buy from me, you can't buy from anywhere. No. And like I've said severally, if you have some of these materials too for sale, let me know. I will tell people they can also buy from you. The more the merrier in this case. The more the merrier. So shipping cost, like I said, shipping fee is not fixed. If you are, it depends on the weight and your location. That is what determines shipping cost. I'm sorry I do not have the big pamphlet here. I would have been able to read out the approximate price for shipping depending on location. Then so one of the other questions I've been getting is what are the things needed for maintenance? Maintenance is simple. It depends on, I'll show you an example. So look at, that is a system here. And if you notice on the system, for the maintenance of this system, all you need to do is ensure there is light. I think I've explained before now the function of the pressure tank. So I think I've explained before now the function of the pressure tank. And I said the function of the pressure tank is it's able to hold in nutrients for a bit, such that you do not need to provide electricity 24 hours a day. And from our calculation, this pressure tank this is 1000 liters, and it is able to feed for 8 hours with 3 horsepower pumping machine. So we have a 3 horsepower pumping machine. It will take 10 minutes for it to refill. So how it works, let me explain how this works so you understand the maintenance. Now, here there is a pumping machine. To my left, I'm trying to see if we can see that, okay, yes. So to my left, we have a 7.5 kVA inverter and their batteries and all of that here. So once the system comes off, the pumping machine pumps nutrients from the tank buried in the ground to the pressure tank. So once the nutrient enters into the pressure tank is able to feed the plants in the greenhouse, depending on what you have set as a timer. In this case, we do 30 seconds every 5 minutes. Now, this is able to feed about 24 times in about 12 hours. So there is a timer here located that controls the feeding. However, as it feeds the plant, the water runs back to the tank in the ground. Once the nutrient here is exhausted after 12 hours, there is a pressure gauge that will automatically pick the nutrients from the tank. So that, and for this to pick, then this needs to be on. That is why you have the inverter. So the inverter only needs to work about 2 times in a day, really. The powering of bulb and all of that is not a major function. It's not heavy on the inverter. So this guy only needs to work about 2 times in a day to power the pumping machine to refill this tank back. And you notice that everything is automated. So what is the job in maintaining this kind of farm? One, you need to ensure that, your nutrient tank is not really empty, which means you need to monitor, you need to know when would the nutrient be exhausted. The nutrient tank is going to be exhausted in a month. By exhausted, not the water would finish, but the nutrient will be depleted. Then you need to monitor pH and EC that you can do 3 times in a day, of which if you have extra about $750 to add to your setup cost, there is a dosatron stuff that you can actually set so that the system automatically helps you take your pH and your EC, your temperature, your total dissolved solid. It takes it automatically. With a little another extra $100, it sends the message to your phone. So you can see the maintenance, like I said earlier, maintenance depends on how much you are willing to invest. I want you to understand this point clearly. It's how much you are willing to invest that determines how much you are really going to be spending on how much or how easy maintenance would be. Then obviously you look at your plant regularly to see, are they doing well, are they not doing well? Right now on this farm we are fixing the CCTV cameras and all of that around the farm, so that the person managing this farm at the end of the day can just watch the TV and see, okay, how are my plants, instead of going around one after the other. I don't know if that makes any sense, but in simple terms, maintenance is easy. The basic things to remember in maintaining the farm is check your plants, know whether they are doing well, are they having a deficiency or not, monitor your nutrients. You have your pH meter, your TDS meter that will do all of that for you too. Um, Ensure there is power. I mean, if you don't have a pressure tank, you need to ensure there is power to push nutrients. You need to know how much nutrients your plant needs based on the kind of plant you are growing and the substrate you are using. So I think I don't know if I've answered the maintenance. Then nutrients price. Like I said, nutrient price, I cannot give you a standard price because it depends on what you are growing one. Even if you are growing tomatoes, what kind of nutrient do you want to use? Do you want a single mix or do you want the A and B mix? Like I explained before now, I said for things like tomatoes, I would advise use A and B so that one is for vegetative, one is for fruiting. You can also have a combo that has a single element mixed the way you want. The price varies on one, the maker, where you are buying from. These are the things that will determine the price. I know, I think about 5 kilogram or so worth. I'm not sure if I'm wrong, but from here I think it costs about 10 or 20,000 naira. That's about whether 5 liters or so, and that 5 liters approximately or 5 kilogram can last about 5 6 months. So if you are doing tomatoes, you've had at least 2 3 harvests already before you exhaust your nutrients. I mean, again, it depends on the maker and the source. The maker is the source and all of that will determine the price. The size they come in depends on you. We have fertilizers that we buy that come in 50 kg bags. Depends on you. You can buy the ones that come in 1 kg bag. So you need to look at what I am buying. How often do I use these nutrients? When will it expire? You don't want to keep something that will be in your shop or in your store for like 4 years. I mean, come on, why not buy another set? Then somebody asked advantages. That I think the advantage and disadvantage, we've talked about this severally. You can look at the earlier lectures where we try to talk about what are the advantages of soilless based farming, hydroponic farming, and the disadvantages. I think we've talked about this severally. So for some questions, please, you have to go back and read. Then, what makes it the best method for a farmer who is just starting in your experience? Why should you pick hydroponics? It's easy, it's convenient. I mean, you don't have to deal with the whole soil base. It's predictable kind of farming. It's smart. I mean, we know what to expect. I know what I am giving the plant and what to expect. So if I don't get what I expect, I know where to check to troubleshoot. That's the basic thing. It's smart, it is clean, it is not dirty. It's not like you still need a lot of thinking. You need to work at it. You need to read to understand it better and all of that. But it's a 21st century farming method basically. It's a 21st century farming method basically. Then financial projection. Financial projection is a bit hard to do because I need to know what you want to do exactly. But like we've always, I think in an example, I'll just do a little example. Let's see if we can see the board. So in a little example, let's do a little bit of financial projection. So we'll do tomatoes and maybe lettuce vegetables. So I want to grow in 8 meter by 24 meter screen house. Now, while growing in an 8 meter by 24 screen house, few of the things I need to remember first is I am going to have my rows where the plants are. So I'll probably have like 4 rows because 1, 2, 3, 4. I need space to move in between. So this is where my plants are. In every square meter, that is in every 1 meter by 1 meter, I can have about 4 plants. So again, the total length is 24. I'm not going to use the total 24. I may use just 22 meters. So I am going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 4 per every square meter times 22. So 4 times 4 is 16 times 22 meter. So I have to get my phone to calculate. So 4 times 4, 16 times 22. So we have about 352 plants. in this place. Remember, this is just an example. This is 352 plants. Now, if we are doing maybe a Roma heirloom tomatoes, each plant will give me between 20 to 30 fruits per harvest. So let's take an approximation of an average order of 25 fruits. Now, if I am getting 25 fruits, assuming each fruit weighs 50 grams. I hope that is clear. I'm trying to see if it is coming out. Okay, each fruit weighs 50 grams. So what I have is 352 plants, 25 times 50. So times 25 times 50. So what I am getting is 440,000 grams. So divide your answer by 1,000. I get 440 kilograms per harvest. I hope this makes sense. Now, the next thing you now look at is, let's assume I am selling my plant, my fruit per kilogram at 300 naira per kilogram. Remember, these are assumptions. So if I sell at 300 naira, now this looks pretty low because what I am getting is 132,000 naira after I've invested millions. Remember, this is just an assumption. But what you now need to calculate is, in my costing for the farm, what is my recurrent cost? What is my one-off cost? My fixed cost. So what is my fixed cost? So you realize that my fixed cost were those things that I paid for just once and I am done. So in my recurrent cost, so I want you to understand how we do the whole financials. In my recurrent cost, 1, I have power. 2, I have manpower, the person that will be monitoring. 3, I have nutrients. 4, I have the seeds, the planting materials. Now, this is usually a cheap infinitesimal. This depends on the source of power, depends on your negotiation. This also is fixed once you buy your nutrients. So the idea is I need to know what kind of tomatoes will I produce that has a high market value, so that my recurrent cost, my income beats my recurrent cost a lot, such that maybe in at most 3 to 5 years I'm able to have paid my fixed cost and started making real profits. I hope that makes sense. So let's take another example, lettuce, using the same 8 meter by 24. So using the same 8 meter by 24, in the case of lettuce, instead of having just 352 plants, because we'll do 5 layers of planting, we'll multiply this by 5. We'll multiply this by 5. I'll try and show a video of a farm like this. So we'll have 352 times 5. I will have 1,760 holes. Then each bucket for planting looks something like that. So you can plant here, 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 or here. So I'll multiply this by 4. Sorry, by 5. So I get 8,800 plants. Now, lettuce, if you are selling, let's say you decide to sell a bunch at 500 naira times 500. 800 times 500. So this person is making 4.4 M from the same space per harvest. Now, when you remember that lettuce will be harvested monthly, because you need to know how often you harvest, but harvested monthly times 12, this gives me 52.8 M. Now, you don't jump and say, this is what I need to be selling, 52.8 M annually from one single screenhouse. You need to remember the setup cost will also be higher. Then your recurrent cost is still the same like the former. The pricing will be different. When I say recurrent cost, you still have to pay manpower, you still have to pay for power, the electricity, depending on how often you need it, and all of these things. You still need to pay for them. But so in doing your recurring cost, you need to understand what you need. That's just the point I'm trying to make. You need to understand the crop, and the recurring costs are basically always going to be the same, except you are packaging and all of that. Then those ones will also come in. I hope that makes sense. And another person asked, what do I need to know about planting tubers? For planting tubers, you need to go with aeroponics, not aquaponics, not hydroponics, because you need a place that your tubers will go into. However, if you must use hydroponics for tubers, then you have to use a medium based planting. You need to use a medium based planting so that the plant has a medium to go into. So thank you for being with me for the past 8 weeks or for the past 7 weeks plus. It has been an awesome journey. I hope you have learned a thing or two. We still post a few videos so that you see what I have done in the period while you were doing what you were doing. And you have questions, feel free to write. I would try as much as I can to reply. And some people have written that they need business plan. Business plan is not free. I've always told people that you pay for business plan. Then some people have asked, can we come visit the farm? Yes, you can. All you need to do is send me an email and tell me you want to visit the farm. Tell me your location, and I will find the farm closest to you for you to visit. I'll find the farm closest to you for you to visit. Have an awesome weekend, and thank you, and I hope you learned a thing or two.